Oh yeah, I love the smell of new pads, or let's just say lack of smell. In this video, we're going to talk about the new custom set that I ordered, and this is not going to be like a typical gear review video. Instead, I'm going to talk about the process in ordering a custom set, and some of the decisions on why I chose certain aspects of the custom order. So this is my first time ordering custom gear. This is something that I've always wanted to do. And if you're not familiar with the process, basically when it comes to Bauer, you go online, you choose custom order, and you kind of just customize the specs that you want. Once you're done with that, you have a Bauer code. You go to the hockey store that's local to you. You give them the code and they can order that for you. But obviously what I recommend is you have your code, but you also work with the person in store to make sure that you kind of just dial the specs that you want, because there's a lot of things in there that I was kind of unsure of when I ordered my set. If you're wondering how much a set like this costs, if you were to add up player fees per season, it'd probably take around 10 seasons to pay off a set like this. So I'm pretty thankful that as a goalie, I don't pay league fees, so I can sort of justify buying a custom set like this. So if you've been following my journey on YouTube being a goaltender, I first started off using the Bauer M5 Pro pad. This is like a mid-level pad, and then partway through I switched over to a used HyperLite set, so the silver set here. And even though I'm kind of like wearing all Bauer stuff, this is like the first time I actually used Bauer. And the reason why I wanted to do this is because I wanted to get sized right in a specific pad and then kind of understand all the intricacies of that specific brand before I made a decision on going for a custom set, rather than switching from brand to brand. So before I talk about the new set, let's talk about these two old guys first. So this one over here, the Bauer M5 Pro, this is from the Supreme line. So this is like a stiffer, more rigid type of pad, whereas this one is on the Vapor line, which is a really soft one. If you looked at my previous video, the reason why I switched to a HyperLite is because I wanted to get that curved profile to get more 5-hole closure. So if you kind of see the profile on both of them, the silver one is a lot more curved than the white one. And this is because I was under the impression that having a curved profile would help my butterfly. But also I just wanted to try the other line just so I can get an idea of what's out there. So even though I really liked this set here, so this is like a matching set with the glove and blocker, it's quite heavily used. So it was only used for 2 seasons from what I heard, but the person that I purchased it off of, he told me that it was used quite a bit, and you can definitely tell it's like really soft and kind of flimsy. The straps on the back are like super duper loose, and the gloves themselves are just like really worn down. Still a great set, still really love it, still a lot of life into it. But after using both from the Supreme line and the Vapor line, I liked a few things from this pad and also some aspects from this one as well too. So what I really wanted to do was try and kind of combine the best of both worlds. On top of having both sets of gear to try out, I was also able to use a demo set of almost exactly to what I wanted to custom order. So I was able to bring that demo set to a public skate, try the pads out, to a shinny with some friends of mine. And also I was able to work with my goalie coach for a longer session too. So after being able to kind of test those things out, I was really able to kind of just dial in what I wanted to do with my custom set. And if you're kind of wondering how the demo program works usually, is you put a deposit for half the value of that set. So if you return the set and you don't really want to purchase anything, you'll get that money back, of course. If you want to purchase the set or do a custom order, that deposit will go towards your purchase. Let's just go ahead and start off with the good stuff, which is the pad first. So the first thing obviously is getting the proper size. So my previous size, I was wearing a 32, which is a size extra small in Bauer. So when you get sized up for your pads, always bring your skates and your knee pads. So it's really important to bring both of them, because that way you can actually make sure that you're landing on the block properly. That's like probably one of the most important things. This is actually an inch taller than my previous one. And that's because the knee block was actually the same. So this is a 33, my old pads were 32. The knee block actually lined up pretty much exactly the same. So I was able to actually get a larger size and get a little bit more thigh rise out of that. So that's pretty sweet. All right, so starting with the bottom of the pad, I chose to go with a thicker toe bridge like this. So they had the option to have like a little single tab. The reason why I went with this is because you're still able to kind of adjust your toe ties if you wanted to experiment a little bit with different angles. And the usefulness of this is, from what I heard, I actually haven't tried this myself, but if you place the toe tie on different spots, this is actually going to kind of create more overlap on your pad when you're in your stance. So if you kind of put it more on the outside of the pad, you're going to get more of an overlap whereas if you kind of put it around the inside like a lot of people do, you're going to get more of a neutral pad sit. That's something that I'm going to definitely try out a little bit, and that's something that you can also try yourself. The next thing up is these toe ties that I came with, these stock kind of bungee toe ties. I was actually really skeptical about this because usually Bauer toe ties will snap, but this is like kind of like their new thing, which is pretty awesome. It has a little bit of space over here, and it's actually pretty long and quite flexible, so I'm going to definitely just keep this on here as opposed to using my pro laces, which I usually use. Interesting about this is the way that it's attached. It's kind of like this little plastic nub, so it's a little bit harder to kind of switch around. You have to kind of squeeze this thing and kind of thread it through. I'm definitely happy with how the stock bungee is. Definitely not like those flimsy ones that it used to come with. Next, you'll see I don't have a boot strap on this. I do have an extra strap attachment that kind of goes around for the boot strap. Like most people, I don't really use a boot strap. I kind of just take that straight out. But if you're using a Lundy loop, the usefulness of that, and this is something that I haven't tried myself, is if you use a Lundy loop, you're actually going to be able to push your pad up a little bit higher. That way you're going to get more thigh rise if that's something that you're looking for. When it comes to strapping, I kind of like having less is more on the inside. So I just used 3 straps, so this one over here, and then this from the knee block up kind of goes down like that. Inside the leg channel, we just have like a little simple calf wrap on the inside. I don't wear hockey socks when I play. I just kind of wear my leggings underneath. Because of that, I actually do need a lot more calf support. I opted to choose this Tune Fit calf strap here, which actually has a little bit of a tighter fit. So I've heard some people complain that it's a little bit too tight for them. I need this kind of tightness to kind of keep my leg in there because, again, I don't wear hockey socks when I play. Next up is the Professor strap, which I've also removed. So that's this little strap that kind of goes right over here and kind of loops across on the side. This is actually something that I use on my silver set. So I can show you right here. So that's this little extra strap over here. And this is just kind of to keep your knee in place. If you like to wear your straps really loose throughout, this is at least going to keep your knee kind of locked into that knee block when you're going into your butterfly. I had to use it on this set because, like I mentioned before, the straps here are really worn out and they're really, really loose, and my knee kept popping out. So having this Professor strap in here really helped me with that. Luckily on the new set, the straps are nice and firm, so I don't need to have that strap, at least not for now. So you always have the option to kind of put the strap behind your knee like this. I prefer to kind of have it just down like that, just so it leaves my knee really flexible. So the way that I like to wear this is I like a really tight calf and then not much strapping up the top around the knee so I can get more movement. And that's because when you're wearing knee pads, you kind of want a little bit more room in there to kind of move around so it's not too tight on your knee. So the first part that's a little bit more custom to this pad is the knee block itself. I chose the Stabilislide, which is like the more firmer knee block over here. The reason why is because Cam from the hockey shop, who I was working with to get this ordered in, he mentioned that the other type of knee block, the Stabiliflex, actually had a lot of returns where people were complaining that it actually like broke when people were leaning too far into it. So, and for an unstable goalie like myself, I kind of like a little bit more stability. I mean, right now I can use all the stability I can get, so I went with the Stabilislide. And the one thing that I had really difficult time choosing was the flex on the pad here. You know, we always talk about like narrow butterflies, especially if you can get older. A lot of us don't have the internal rotation to get a nice flare. Like the silver set that I had, it's a lot more of a curl to it. The white M5 Pros was a bit of a flatter face, stiffer pad. I was a little bit torn between the two of them because I felt like I was okay getting into butterfly on both of them. But I think what really made me decide on the flex that I have on the custom set is because this silver one is the soft curved flex. And this is like from 2 years of use, and it's like really floppy, which I don't really like. So it kind of loses a little stability there. So what I actually went with on this is less of an S curve. And I believe this is the ultrasonic stiffness, which is basically the Bauer Supreme Shadow stiffness that I have. So this was a bit of a gamble because I do have a very narrow butterfly. But the funny thing and interesting thing is when I actually brought this up to Cam, you know, I kind of asked him about, hey, shouldn't I get a curved profile because I have a narrow butterfly? He was saying that the curved profile can actually work against you if you have a narrow butterfly, which kind of blew my mind because that was not really what I thought. Because I was able to use the M5 Pros, which is the Supreme line, and also the Bauer HyperLite, I actually preferred how this one felt. So this one is a lot stiffer and a little bit more straighter. I actually kind of liked this one. I felt like I was consistently closing it a bit better. Maybe my flexibility just got a lot better in the last 6 months because I wasn't able to do that when I first purchased these pads. So out of all the customization options, the stiffness of the pad and angle was probably the most unknown out of all of them. So I hope this is going to seal up fairly nicely, or at least similar to my other pads. but we'll see how that goes once I start hitting the ice with these. So overall, in terms of like customization options with the pad itself, the ones that make the most difference probably is going to be the stiffness of the pad and then the stiffness of the knee block as well. Those two are probably going to be the most impact on the pad as you're actually playing. Then of course, last but not least, the color on this. So I picked basically pure black and Vegas gold for the logos. I was trying to get like black logos so there was like no logos on it at all, but they wouldn't let me do that. All right, next let's talk about the glove itself. So this is actually a Vapor 90, which is a 580 brake. This is something that I just tried out. I've never worn a 580, but when I used the demo set, it just felt like the pucks were just kind of just going into the pocket really nicely. I was surprised to actually catch a few pucks where I normally wouldn't. So if you're looking for a glove and kind of wondering what type of brake to get, I think it kind of really depends on how you actually close and catch with your catching hand. So from my understanding, a 600 brake is fingers to thumb. A 580 brake is your thumb is not completely at a 90-degree angle, so you're kind of catching like this, more from fingers to thumb meet, I guess is what you want to call it. A 580, which is what I have, is you're catching with your thumb up like this. So this is something that I've kind of taught myself to do, is kind of just catch with my thumb up like that. The reason why I wanted to get a 580 is because I've also heard that because of the brake angle, it actually makes it a lot easier to have that overhand grip as you're playing the puck. I'm a horrible puck handler, so I wanted to get every advantage I can get. So I did kind of opt for this one, and that way I can try to play the puck a little bit better. Another thing to note about this glove is I did get it pro palmed as well. So I was actually a little bit worried that I wouldn't be able to break it in, but out of the box, it actually closed pretty well. Still can't really open it all the way, so I need to kind of break it in a little bit more. But I think after a couple more weeks, I can get this thing broken in pretty well. And the reason why I really wanted to get a Pro Palm, I'm not playing against hard shooters, but when I was using this used glove, so again, this is like only 2 years old, even just taking a floater or just kind of catching a random puck, like if you don't get it in the net at all and kind of hit anywhere on the palm or on the finger area, you would feel that. Like I would, almost every other game, I would have a bruise on my finger, and that's like not really fun to do. So that's why I opted with the Pro Palm. This is a game ready palm. And last but not least, of course, is gonna be the blocker itself. So when it comes to blockers, like I'm kind of just like whatever works and whatever's affordable. This is not a HyperLite blocker, this is actually a shadow blocker. And the reason why I picked that is because, kind of look back here, you actually have a lot of room for flexibility in your wrists, so you can kind of like move it around really nicely. So like this. The thing is, with the HyperLite blocker, it actually has this like weird cuff that kind of goes across your wrist like this. And I've actually seen and actually heard about people just having to cut that thing off. That's actually what Cam told me. He told me just to cut it off with a pair of scissors if I don't like it. So instead of going that route, I actually just decided to pick Bauer Shadow Supreme blocker instead. Just to kind of wrap things up, this is a HyperLite 2 pad with a Supreme Shadow stiffness and profile, a Vapor 90 580 brake glove with a Pro Palm, and then a Supreme Shadow blocker. So being able to kind of take the best of both worlds and customize this the way that I want. I'm hoping this is going to be my last set for at least another few years, because again, if you've been following my channel, this is going to be like my third set of gear in like under a year, which is not sustainable, because price of this thing, I probably could have bought like a used car from the 2000s. I did spend quite a bit of time like going through each of the custom specs before I did an order. So if you're looking to order a set yourself and you have some questions about some of the customization options you're not really sure of, feel free to leave me a comment down below and I can definitely help you out with that. So I'm looking forward to getting some footage in this awesome set. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.